A few a few months ago, um, a few months ago, in a prior live stream, I promised to update you on my work with presenting state by state returns to player. And so today, the return to player RTP for 7 US states is what I'll show you, which is has those casinos you'll want to start off with and have the best odds of winning at slots. And of course, I'm taking your questions because this is a live stream. I'm only saying that because, of course, the people who are live now know it's a live stream, but you might be watching this after the fact. Hello to you watching this recording. Thank you for being here, and be sure to subscribe for notifications so you can have your questions answered the next time I do one of these. But either way, stick around, and I'm sure it will be of value to you, even if you are watching this after the fact. But those of you who are here live, thank you so much. If you have a question, use hashtag question. That's so I can be sure to spot your question. I'll put that message up for you so you can see it. Uh, I want to be able to spot your questions to me instead of the many, 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 many comments that everybody has with each other in the live chat, which is great, but I need to find a way to be able to pull out what was talking to me situation. So after all, this is also a community video where friends check in about how their slots play has been going lately, the weather. We've talked with friends that were in the middle of bad storms and all of that. But so I also want to mention that for those that enjoy my company intern, Isaac, can you see him? Not quite, I think. There he is. Isaac is hot. I think it's dropped from the high today of 99. Nope, I'm sorry. It has not dropped from the high of 99. It's gone up. So it's 99 degrees out. And he's just like, what is this? I love air conditioning. I don't want to have to go outside. And my first dog, so forgive me if I'm trying to figure things out. Also, it's been quite a week for him. The dog collar came off yesterday. Not that he minded it. I think he quite enjoyed it, actually. I didn't. He did, but he's such a good dog. Also, I want to say to the other creators of Sluts channels quietly watching my live streams every week that I'm so glad that you decided to watch. It's good that you're trying to educate yourself. Please enjoy the show. If you have any questions you'd like to ask, feel free to email me at john@professorslots.com, where John is spelled Jon. Or if you forget, don't worry about it. John works just fine too. So let's get to it, shall we? First, let's all go over some background information so that we know what's what, and then I'll start. I'll get into showing you what the state returns show for you to make database decisions. Right? That's what we want to do: make database decisions, not any of this other stuff that's possible. That's often happens too much. And sometimes the organizations fail by not making database decisions, and I've been doing that for, well, on this show. This is I think I'm at, is it 3 years yet? No, it's like 2.5 years of live streams, weekly live streams, or now I'm doing 3 a week. So yeah, I've been doing it for a while. And it really is the best way to make a decision. Not that's the only way. Inductive reasoning, deductive reasoning, there's a difference. Critical thinking, all these things. After all, I did as a professor of decision analysis, not to mention system simulation. It's all part of my training. So I hope that your state is one of the six states or 7 states that I'm including, that I'll be covering today. So I'll share this with you so you can see my screen. For those of you who are, let's see here. Best way to do this, I think, is this. Okay, so if you're new to me, you will learn that every little once in a while, I make a serious upgrade. And so this is another one. We'll see if the technology holds for it. And so when people talk about return to player RTP is wildly misunderstood. When people say it, I have to listen to the context of what they're saying to understand which of the three possible meanings they have. Usually, it's kind of like just it's a mix, and I like clarity. I like to know what we're talking about. So let me tell you what the three different types of return to player are. First is a setting on the machine called a theoretical payout limit. A lot of people think that this is uh, uh, stated by the gaming commission that it has to be this number, and it's not. It's just not. The state has a limit and a lower limit, not all states. And so this is what's called a theoretical payout. Other people call it other things, but usually the word theoretical and limit are used. Now, there's also, if you had anything to do with an accountant at any time, you have a budget before you do something, work or home, you have a planned budget, and that's kind of the theoretical payout. But then there's actually what happened: your bank receipts, your deposit slips. The difference between getting ready to go to the casino with a bankroll, and then kind of like how much did you actually spend, and then the actual real life what happened. And so it's actually called actual. It's an accounting term, and we often use the word returns. And that's something provided by the state, which they've requested from the casino. Very rarely will a casino, we talked about this a week ago, will provide that directly to the public. And I've only found one place that really does that. There's other places, other casinos that do it very kind of like have an announcement that they just had a win, and that's not exactly the same, but that's pretty minuscule compared to the state data. And then also the return to player, which a lot of people seem to be talking about when they mention these terms, is you. How did you do? What is your return to player? Is it over 100%? Are you a professional slots player? Are you making a living at slots? These people exist. And so you would, have to consider which of these three return to player is being used. But hopefully everybody who sees this will be here. Has any interest in any one of those. I want to make sure I keep an eye on the live chat. Great. Okay. So let's see if we can use this new feature. Excellent. So I will only mention the theoretical payout limits here. What we're talking about today is returns. What's the best casino? But this background information needs to be gone over so you know what I'm talking about. So there's a theoretical payout limit. It is a minimum limit in 29 states. I know it's kind of small fonts for you to see on a phone if you're using a phone, but I listed all 29 states that have a minimum limit. And then there's 14 states that have a maximum limit, usually 100% or up to 100% for like Pennsylvania. They won't even say 100%. It says it has to be less than 100%. And then there's others like, is it Wyoming for some of their convenience store retailer slots? They're not really slots. It's so hard to find them. They're video poker and video keno and video blackjack, but they're not poker, keno, or blackjack. They're slot machines. Anyway, as you'll see, there's every state does it a little bit different. I think I made a video something along the lines of states are weird, but there are 14 of those of our states that have a maximum limit. And I say states, but actually one of them is a territory. So getting away from theoretical, coming back to actual, it's 40% of states. There's only 20 states that offer this information on a monthly basis. There's a couple of more, Wisconsin, South Dakota, just for the Deadwood casinos, and offer it for an annual basis. And like Deadwood, it's offered like 2 years later. So I won't talk about the annual return statistics, but these states here, these 20 states, 20 out of 50, 40% are the ones that have return statistics. I'm working my way through them. I didn't go alphabetical order the first time. Last year, year before, at the pandemic, I wanted to see how Mississippi was doing, and New Jersey, and I did a few of those just to check the big ones, I guess, Florida. But now I'm working through them alphabetically. And when I get to, I just finished today Iowa. You probably don't know that. This is YouTube, and it didn't go up on YouTube. It's on my website, and tomorrow is likely when I'll produce the video for Iowa. And so I've been going through 7 of them. Yes, so far 8 if you include Mississippi, 9 New Jersey, and I think that's about it. Anyway, next week, I've been trying to do one a week. Later this week will be Kentucky. Okay. Let's start with Colorado. Colorado has 3 frontier towns. They also have a couple of tribal casinos, but the tribal casinos don't have return statistics. I'm going to be brief. I'm going to leave out a lot of stuff, and I'll tell you later. There's articles, and we'll find them on each one of these that just lets you look and update your records on what's happening month by month. I plan on updating these 20. I do them once a week forever. Right? And I haven't gone through all of them for the first time, but every couple of months I'll update you on the live stream about what's going on. So Colorado has a couple of tribal casinos, but they don't have return statistics. And so they have 3 frontier towns where gambling was made legal. And they have a bunch of casinos. So the return statistics for these Colorado frontier towns don't go casino by casino, like I think almost all the other ones that I'm doing today do. And so it goes by city. So you have to sort of figure things out. And so this is from beginning of 2019 through very recently. I think I did this article like 2 months ago. So all of these are just up to the latest time I did the report. You can see here that Cripple Creek has better returns. And you can see that Black Hawk and Central City are pretty well tied. And so that matters. And right there, go to Cripple Creek. I mean, you have other considerations. Where are you staying? Family, sights to see, all of that. And do pardon me if I'm sweating, because it is like, I'm kind of keeping an eye on the temperature. I want to see if it goes over 100. But right there, you can choose machines, and I explained how on other videos, where different times of the day have different returns, different times of the week have different returns, after big events have different returns, and you can figure out how long that is, when that is, and determine their schedule. And it doesn't last for very long, but it is enough for you to improve your odds. But if you start from a baseline, I'm very much a scientist today. Tomorrow I'll be an engineer, and the next day I'll be a businessman. Then I'll cycle back to being a physicist again. Amusing story. The power went out for just me and my neighbor. My neighbor came over and said, "What have you been doing?" And I said, the physicists always get asked those questions, like we're trying to make a Stargate in the basement or something. I don't even have a basement. Anyway, science fiction fan here. Okay, so when you look at these different returns, this is your baseline. This is from which you have, if you're going to make a living at playing slots, then you need to start as high as possible. So yes, if you have questions, please add hashtag question so I know. Thanks. And like this video, so while this live stream is taking place, more people will get pulled in for it, and find out what's going on and ask their questions, and that's all great. So if you, right, so This is for all slot machine denominations because Colorado is one of those states. It's going to be a little bit long on Colorado because it has by slot machine denomination. So this is all denominations. This is penny. Again, Cripple Creek. This is dimes, and only Black Hawk has dime denomination slot machines. That's why there's no data on Central City and Cripple Creek for this from the beginning of 2019. This is quarters. Again, Cripple Creek, you can see, the quarter machines are the ones you want to play. If you go to Black Hawk, don't play the quarter machines. It's worse than any of the other two states. This is valuable, right? Now we just have to get to your state. So hang on. A lot of similarities between the 50-cent denomination and $1 denomination. It's really, really low at Black Hawk, but fairly high at Central City occasionally. And Black Hawk has the $2 denomination machines. It's kind of a mix, and the $5 doesn't really show one being better than the other. Some months it is, some months it is not. So that's not clear for the last 2 years. If something shows as a pattern for the last 2 years, it's a choice by the casino, and you'll see this time and again, a choice made by the casino. So high is anything over the $5 denomination in Colorado. That's what they define as high. And then multi-denomination, and that's kind of a mix, but lately it's been Black Hawk that's kind of come through, but long-term it's been Cripple Creek for many situations. So that's Colorado. Again, went over a lot of detail, just breezed past it, and there are articles on this, and I'll show you later in a moment where you go. So then let's switch over alphabetically to the next state that has return statistics, Connecticut. These are tribal casinos. People swear up and down, oh, no tribal casino will ever have return. Yeah, right. Connecticut's 2 tribal casinos has return statistics. Now, this is from 1996 through a couple of months ago. And so it's interesting to see the slow decline for what is that? Do I have a pointer? I wonder if I have a pointer. I have to look into that. Nope. Interesting. So first time I've used this feature. So it declined in the return, started high and then declined for, what is that? 13 years. And then kind of stayed there for about a year. And then for the next 5, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, it basically went up. And then it's doing this decline for the last, from 2016. So that would be the last 6 years doing the decline. So you can see the choices that they're making about how much that they want to clearly have their returns set at. And this is long term. So I think history is interesting, but let's go back to just the returns from beginning of 2019. And this had a couple of things happen. One was the pandemic. That's what that gap is. And another thing was something happened on Mohegan Sun where they dropped the returns for a time. But this is when I kind of tighten in, you can see the variety. Foxwoods and Mohegan Sun are pretty much matched. When one goes up, the other goes up. When the other goes down, one goes down, the other goes down. And that's kind of what they've been doing lately. So there is no preference over the two of these. But when you look at the last 26 years, you can see some trends here. When you get to lately, this was January, the numbers shot up. So I wonder, I can't update these all the time. Again, it takes me like 4 months to get through all of them. And then I'll, if I can consistently do it week after week, and the first time's always hard. So I wonder how they're doing in the next last couple of months. Should be more data out there. Delaware. There's 3 casinos in Delaware Park. Bolly's just purchased Dover Downs and then Harrington Raceway. All of these are pari-mutuel facilities with slot machines. I think this is just fascinating. From 1995 to the most recent, and around March or so, I don't know, it was February of all of these. I did it a couple of weeks ago, and I thought it was very interesting, where Bally's started low, and then like a month after that, Bel- uh, uh, Delaware Park started it, but they started higher because it was a couple months after Bally's opened. And then about 6 months later, a little bit more, Harrington opened, and they shot high, but then they dropped immediately. And so these are all business decisions, just to express the kind of control that these casinos have. Yeah. Right. So Delaware Park, Bally's, Dover, Harrington, these are all pretty well matched up. It's just in the last part of 2021 and the first part of 2022, there seems to be kind of a clear difference. And if we see this again and again for the most recent months, then you can start saying, aha, Harrington. Why would you not go anywhere else? You want to have the highest best baseline. Yeah. So why would you go anywhere else? If it has a great buffet, I'd go, to one with I'd sacrifice percent returns for a good buffet. I'm quoted as saying that on ABC News. So Florida, again, none of the tribal casinos are required to have return statistics, but the commercial casinos are. And those commercial casinos are in Miami-Dade County and Broward County, Fort Lauderdale um, areas. And so this is something crazy happened here to which one was it? Casino Miami. I think it had partly to do with they're having a game called High Ally, which is kind of like racquetball, and people would compete. And so it was like parimutuel racing, only it wasn't racing. It was an indoor sport with teams. And so maybe they got some issues there. So I skipped past that, and I just, focused on 2006 and after. This is so hard to read, right? So I took it into 2000. Yeah, this is from 2006. So I took it in and just looked at from the beginning of 2019, and you can clearly see that green is Hialeah Park, brown is Magic City, and those are two across the top. They made this choice. This is not luck. This is business decisions, and as is Isle Pompano. Look at that. Like, you can see daylight between the bottom of all the others, which are kind of clustered in the middle. So there's like three different groups. There's a high number, and there's two high casinos, two low casinos. You don't have to go to Hialeah Park or which one's the other one? Magic City. But for goodness sakes, please stay away from Isle Pompano, until something happens. My goodness. And the middle of the pack ones are there. So, you can fight it. You can use my strategies to overcome the lower odds of these casinos, but why bother? Unless you have a good reason, like your family likes it, or the drive's shorter, or whatever reason. But start at the highest baseline you can for your casino. Illinois. Now, Illinois has riverboat casinos, but and there are no returns on that, on those types of casinos. But there's about 2,000, if I remember the number correctly, about 2,000 slot machines per casino. There's like 12, 15 casinos. And if you count up the 5 to 10 machines operated by the state lottery in 17,000 bars and taverns, it's like 30 riverboat casinos. So yeah, and the returns for bars and taverns are available. You can go and look at the business that Dave's Tavern in the corner of whatever and whatever, and you could look it up to see what the returns have been for the last years, decades. Actually, it's 2012, one decade. And so you can also look it up for the municipality, because the municipality has the city laws, the local laws are important to Illinois. And then there's also a statewide. I'm just providing the statewide because I'm not going to show 17,000 different casinos with bars and taverns with 5 machines, 10 machines each. So this is what happened. They were very low to start with. Understand that on this graph of Illinois' video gaming terminals at bars and taverns, that there were maybe 300 machines here in this first dot in 2012, end of 2012. But as they continued here, they grew and grew and grew and grew as more and more bars and taverns got them in. And so now they're all over the place. And so 300 machines there, but they were set very low. And then they just basically fell for the next 2 years, went up for the next 2 years, and then have been dropping since 2000, late 2020. And then they had a short uptick, and then they've been dropping now. So this is the most recent data here, which is, I think, March. And that number there, I'm trying to point out with my mouse towards the end. I have to figure out a way to show a mouse here, is lower than ever before. And ouch, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Illinois. Yeah, it's just like, give them a hug when you see them. Dang, 10 years of, this 10 years of, like, I think my machines suck. And, yeah, especially since 2016. This is the last from January 2019 for Illinois, where it kind of shows you the details, and there's been a sharp drop. April, actually. It was not March, it was April that I had the most recent data, and we'll see what happens if it pulls out. But my goodness, somebody's the state lottery is fully controlled, and none of the bars and taverns are. It's not like the state lottery working with the casinos on video gaming machines like they do in Ohio. In Illinois, the bars and taverns have no say whatsoever. And this is entirely the doing of the state lottery. And if the state lottery, like a casino, if the state lottery wants money, then by golly, they'll get money. Yeah. Keep asking the hashtag questions. I'm going a little bit long today, but there's a lot to go through. It's going to get faster as we get towards the end. Indiana, there are 16 commercial casinos with returns. One tribal casino, but there is no returns. And then they used to offer by slot machine denomination, but they stopped doing that a couple of years ago. I never heard why they decided to give less data to Indiana folks. The casinos must have pushed for it, I would think. That's all I can think that it would be. So this is a mess. This is from the beginning of January 2019. And so what I wanted to share with you next is actually something somebody mentioned here a couple of weeks ago, saying, could you highlight this in some way? So let me do that for you here. So this is a video for 4 seconds. It's going to show from the top to the bottom, basically. Now that's Ameristar Valleys, and that is Belterra. And if you pause and go back, it's only there for 4 seconds. Blue Chip is great, right? Caesars is down towards the bottom. French Lick is best, although in the last couple of months, not so much. Then in Hard Rock, now Hollywood, Lawrenceburg, and next up is Harrah's. That's pretty low. Horseshoe Hammond is next, which is pretty much with Harrah's. Horseshoe Indianapolis, I've been there. It's a great place. There it is at the bottom. Majestic Star and Majestic Star 2, they both closed in March 2021, so they're gone. But they do have a little bit of data here. And then Rising Star, and that's it. So let me share this. And so the last state I wanted to go through before taking your questions is Iowa. It has 19 commercial casinos. It has with returns. It also has by slot machine denomination, but I haven't done the analysis for the slot machine denomination. Otherwise, we'd be here for like a half an hour going over it. I'll do it eventually. But there are 4 tribal casinos, but they have no returns. Interestingly enough, those 4 tribal casinos actually have a theoretical payout assigned to them, a minimum, but the commercial casinos do not. So those who say tribal casinos never have blah, 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 well, that's just not true. So this, again, is a bit of a mess. You can see across the bottom is, I'm trying to remember which one was it. Let's see. I don't want to say. I'm going to switch to from the beginning of 2021 through. I just did this morning, so it's the latest available in May. Just this last month, we got it out already, and so I'm going to play another video for you, which will click through these by showing a thick colored line, and you just match it to what's on the name of the casino on the side. And so let's watch for that. Maristar, Casino Queen, Catfish Bend, Diamond Joe in Worth, Diamond Joe in Dubuque, Grand Falls, Hard Rock, Terra's pretty low, Horseshoe pretty low with Harris. Isle of Capri, slightly more. Isle Waterloo. That's right. Lakeside, when I won my first jackpot, $1,000, not a hand pay. And that is Prairie Meadows, which is where I won all those hand pays in a week, 6 days. And that would be Rhythm City. We passed Q, Riverside, Wild Rose Clinton, Wild Rose Emmitsburg, and Wild Rose Jefferson. And there that is. Okay. So, you know, if you want more information than what I went over, and I breezed through it pretty fast, or if you are interested in other states with return statistics, please take a look at my website where I have lots more to share. Over 300 slots articles in addition to my over 300 YouTube videos. It's not one-to-one. It's 600 different topics. Call it a slots library, if you will. I know I do. So browse all my free articles and videos, not to mention podcast episodes. The good news is I have a lot of free content. The bad news is I have a lot of free content. So maybe you need help getting understanding it if you haven't been following me from the beginning, just absorbing all that much information. And so that's why I offer the course for your convenience. But have I not mentioned my Professor Slots podcast? Yes, I have a podcast currently at 168 episodes and counting. Let me, that the one I wanted? Nope. Oh yeah. Share screen. That's what I want. There we go. So it's a little bit bigger. So this is my professorslots.com/podcast. You can go to your app on your Android phone, on your Apple phone. You can go to all the different apps that show podcasts. My name of my podcast is Professor Slots, Play Slots Smarter and Win. And you should be able to find it. If you cannot, you can always come to this website and you can listen to it here. So, you know, for the last, episode number 168 came out Sunday, actually, I think Monday. The aforementioned power outage was pretty crazy, and big storms yesterday, and so hot today. But number 169 is coming out this next Sunday per my usual schedule. For the last 18 episodes, I've been having a lot of good conversations with participants in my online course. Some of them are here with us now. It's been quite enjoyable. And for the 85 episodes before that, I shared these live streams to my podcast audience, because the podcast audience, everybody does their own thing. Facebook, YouTube, podcasting, websites, Google, looking for articles. Sometimes they connect some of those things, but mostly people just do what they do. And so I wanted to share with my podcast audience that there was a whole live stream conversation. And I'm also sharing lately my episodes of my podcast with my YouTube audience, because I'm just trying to not get people to leave their platform, as they call it, but just to try to share information amongst the groups. Anyway, for the last 18 episodes, including this coming Sunday, I've had interviews, conversations. And for the 85 interviews before that, live stream audio. And then the first 66 episodes before that, starting a couple of years ago, it was mostly the content of my book with some extra commentary and fun stuff. But with episode 170 available in about 2 weeks, I'll be starting another long series. Basically, I'm not updating the book, but I would like to my moderator is here. Hi, Paula. Thank you, Paula, for being our moderator today. I'm a little bit surprised you're here. How's the back? But you don't have to answer. But I'll be starting another long series in this next little bit. I might have the occasional interview. I think people really enjoyed listening to people and their take on taking the course. So for those who've been following my podcast for a very long time, that I will change it up every year two and 18 weeks. And so, yeah. And hey, did I mention I have Facebook? Yes, I have Facebook. I have 30,000 followers on 57 Facebook groups. 56 of them are state by state, territories, federal district. One of them has over 18,000 members on my Professor Slots Enthusiasts. Everybody is sharing their wins, and it's all pretty fun and interesting. So, I want you to know that, rest assured, dear YouTube watcher, at least you'll get to listen to my podcast episodes because I'm posting them on YouTube. I know it can be confusing, as I keep getting requests to change the picture. And finally, go to my website and sign up for my email, because there is, if you go to here, you get a free gift. And I'll try to show that to you. Can you see that? Yeah. And press those green buttons anywhere you see them on the articles and stuff, and you'll get my 28-page ebook, and my email list is huge. So I don't, I'm quietly working on just presenting to YouTube and my YouTube audience, and I'm not mentioning all the other stuff that I have going. I try to, point out that if you want to take a course, I have the course. I have a book on Amazon. Amazon takes 70%, so I can't do anything about that cost, or rather very little. And so not making any money on that, believe you me. But, it's there as a marketing tool to talk about what's going on. Some people just read books. They don't go on Facebook, they go on YouTube, and etc. So again, pardon me for sweating so much. It is it's dropped to 97. I guess we didn't peak at over 100. I guess that's okay. So yes, let's get to your questions. And where are we at? Lots of questions. Excellent. So how this works is, I talk about a topic at the beginning, and then we start going to the questions, and the questions, my voice gives out around 2 hours, and I'll go right up to that. So we've got an hour and 41 minutes, an hour and 40 minutes of I'll just take questions. Um, I don't see a hashtag question under Frank's comment, but maybe I hadn't yet said that. So, do you think they are stashing for the hard times ahead? Yes. Honestly, they started nearly a year ago, and they recovered. I started doing these return to player analyses of Florida and New Jersey, and I did that a year and a half ago and a year ago just to see, are we over? Are they over it yet? And they made back their money. And then they made back their money. And then they made back their money. And they made back their money. And they made back their money. And they made back their money. 6x. Are they done? Well, a lot of casinos had plans to like open something else, put an expansion in, do another casino if they could with a gaming license. There's option for that satellite casinos in Pennsylvania would be available within like, what is it, 5 or 10 miles from their main facility. They could do that. Nobody's building these things because they were so concerned about stashing money away again and again and again. They were scared by what happened, by all the casinos closing for 2-3 months. My accountant was telling me, was it a month ago? Yeah, we're having our next meeting on Friday. Told me a month ago that his brother was an accountant for one of the casinos in Pennsylvania, and that he asked for help and asked for help and asked for help, and all these projects got canceled, and they couldn't seem to find anybody to come in, and so he just quit. And yeah, it's little inside information of yeah, it's just crazy there, and they have made it back, but are they done? The return statistics have lightened up a little bit, but they have decided to not build anything. Yes, they released some of the slots managers to get more slot machines because they were desperate. They're like, man, we need more machines. We got to replace, etc. And they said, okay, fine, but don't build a building, which is more than $20,000 a slot machine. It's millions. Okay, good question. Jan, on your website, Louisiana is missing on your state page. Is it? Really? I don't know which one you mean. I will look into that. Yeah, it's all just me. I'm not responsible for the mistakes of others. I am responsible for my mistakes. Yep, Frank. Yep. Thank you for adding the hashtag question. I appreciate that. This is a comment, not a question. XLLX Frenzy went on vacation to Riverside Casino, won a major jackpot for $944 on a 50-cent bet, and was at the end of a row facing the entrance. Happened within first 5 bets. Yeah. Yes, and I'm not going to mention this every 15 minutes, but please like today's show if you would. That will help us pull in a bunch more people to ask them questions, for them to ask questions, and that's how YouTube's algorithm works. Question: is it accurate to say that most casinos in states without return stats should have similar returns as nearby states and casinos that do have those stats? That's a fair assessment. What you can do is you can look at a map and you can see if there's a state with return statistics on one side of it to the east, and to the west is another one, and then kind of in the middle. Now, this isn't necessarily going to be accurate. for instance, if you're in Florida, which is a peninsula, and you're in Tampa, which is like 3 hours away from, uh, Miami, or more really, you are isolated, and so isolated casinos, will know that they are isolated, know that their patrons, their slots players can't go anywhere else, and so they know that and they use it. So, but in general, if you're bracketed by 2 states with these returns, then you can expect it, to be like that, but you can't take it too far, right? Penny slots are the worst. We can do that, but is other denominations? Hmm. Crystal asked the question, how about California's numbers? Would it be helpful if I were to put all the casinos, the 60% of states that don't offer return statistics? California does not offer return statistics. There's nothing I can do about that. Contact your congressman, or become one, or become the state commissioner. One of you will do it. I know you will. Uh, oh, wow, that was loud. And I want to, let's see, where is my mouse? My battery? My mouse? My battery? My mouse? Where are you at? Connection lost. And come on. Where's my mouse? Oh no. So pardon me while I have technical difficulties. Probably should have charged my mouse overnight. There it is. Good. My goodness. So I wanted to thank Irving. Um, Thank you, Irving. Um, uh, so uh, sure, if you want a private consultation from that time, I will make it a little. Usually, I have like a 12-hour notice, but um, I'll set that up for you to make sure it's available. Uh, um, uh, uh, yes, there is some things that can happen with using Stripe, having to do with vendor codes and all of that. It doesn't happen very often. I'm glad that you made another live stream as well, and I do hope that your health is well. Excuse me, that your health is well. Right, so I'll take care of that. Um, was that a question, Dave? So if you were to, were you asking about Illinois? Other than using my memory, why don't we just go look? I think I may have not counted it this last time because it's hard to count. If you go to professorslots.com/IL, you will see what I'm looking at right now, which is my Illinois slot machine casino gambling article. This is where each state, territory, and the federal district has this, and just use the professorslots.com and then 2-letter postal designation for it, and you'll come right to it. Let's see. Oh yeah, the riverboats were limited to 1,200 each, and there is I don't have the about 7,000. Sorry, not 17,000. About 7,000 for a total of 42,000 BLTs. Yeah, that's what I get for doing the memory. I added a 1. Yep. So just to clarify your answer for you, my answer for you. Let's see. Right. Question: Maryland has been setting record casino revenues for the last couple of months. So is everybody else. Is there a direct correlation to lowering payback percentages? And it's not an opinion. We were looking at data. Some states dipped after the pandemic, after kind of like the recovery, but about a year ago, maybe 6 months ago, they seem to be going back up. So this is not opinion, database decision making, please. And sorry, don't mean to get upset. It's so they did lower the payback percentage, and then they did it some more, and then they did it some more, and now they're not in as much trouble. But they really kept it low for far too long, in my opinion. That's opinion, because they were just scared spitless, you know. Closed for 2 months unexpectedly. Luckily, any of them remained open, and and half of the 1,000 or so U.S. casinos are owned by tribes, and many of these tribes, it's the only income, a serious amount of income, but the only income outside of a state or federal, and so disaster, really something. Potassium, Cheryl? Do you mean Potawatomi? Hey, did you hear that the inventor of autocorrect passed away? Yes, May Restaurant. Yeah, Cheryl says it was Potawatomi. Let's see. Dave says each dot is a month. Remember that. They do monthly returns. The state of Nevada does weekly returns. They request weekly from casinos, but they post to the public monthly. Just and so Melinda Wright says, please recap for us latecomers. I went over 7 different states and showed the return statistics. Most of them had by casino. Colorado was one that only had by city. Black Hawk, Cripple Creek, and Cripple Creek, and why am I forgetting the other one? Oh, wow, I'm sorry. And now it's really bugging me. I have to do it. Black Hawk, Cripple Creek, and Central City. I always forget that one. I don't know why. It's the land, the home of Green Lantern, right? Central City. Anyway, so I went over Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Florida. Only the commercial casinos in Miami-Dade and Broward counties, because the tribal casinos don't offer it. Illinois, but only the bars and taverns, video gaming terminals. Indiana and Iowa. And I'm doing there's 20 states that offer return statistics. I'm working my way through them. When I get another 5 done or so, I will present on a week on one of the live streams, and maybe that'll be your city. There's a slide that I shared, which I don't think I can pull it up right now, of all the different states, the 20 states that offer it, and maybe you have it, maybe you don't, and that's my update. And yeah, right, Jerry? That does not look random. People who don't even know what random is just like, no. I'm like, and I try to tell people have crazy thoughts about, it seems like crazy thoughts about random number generators. And I try not to be too harsh about it. I cannot get a Facebook meme out of my head, which was that Wendy's tried to, I don't want to say Wendy's. It was 2 of the hamburger joints decades ago. One had the quarter pounder. It was 1/4. And a different vendor decided that they would market the 1/3, a 1/3 pounder, and they failed at their marketing. And you know why? Because everybody thought 4 was bigger than 3. So, if people are not understanding what random is, hey, you didn't have to go through the joy of statistics. Well, it was not joy. I don't know what it's like to not have statistics. I don't remember anymore. I'm just, if you're happy without having had it, good for you. Good for you. So let's see what else we have here. Yeah, people talk about, well, it's psychology, it's this and it's that, and it's like, talk to a scientist sometime about biased data. Hi, I'm a scientist. I'm not wearing my engineering hat. Jan says, KS Star, yep, state-owned, yep, I know, is operated by Boyd Gaming, yep. Would all Boyd casinos have the same layout or payout structures in place? Example of 5-spin location works within their casino properties. That's a pretty clear no. And the reason being, they're not the owner, they're the operator. So they do what they're told. Now, they may have advised the operator about how to set up the casino with infrastructure, with equipment, with where this, that, and the other. They could have been part of talking to the architect about setting things up on the layouts. If they were there, if they were the operator for when the casino was built. And then I think they have a long-term status. They have, even if it's owned, changes ownership, change operators. After that first setup, it's whoever was the original operator for a casino. That's who it was. That's what I found the trend to be. I've got, it's been a few years now, 5, 7, 6, 7, 8. And some of the casinos that I know very well have changed ownership, and I've gone back and I've looked at how to win. And it's interesting how they haven't changed. It'd be very distinct ways of winning that haven't changed with the new operator. I think it has to do with how it was set up originally. So who owned it when it first opened? Who was the operator when it first opened? And look into that operator and see what they do. That's my suggestion. Good idea, though. Good idea. That's why I thought about it. I don't mean to. I mean to say that it's something that you would reasonably want to ask, right? Yeah, I would love for it to be true, but it seems to be something about the first operator for a casino. Okay, Steve says, hey, Steve, didn't I get like emails from you today? Okay. Steve says, I've been to a few casinos where you can time out the slot machine for like 10 to 15 minutes. Yeah. And there's a lot of more casinos than people realize that you can do that. And have to set it with your player's card. Would that be enough for idle for the 5-spin to work? I found 1 week. Coming back 1 week later, but of course the slot machine isn't idle. I found 6 hours. It seems to be kind of it's a reset, right? And again, this is me figuring out how things work. If you want to examine how the human body works, you don't destroy it. You figure it out when it's running. Okay, you don't dismantle it, you don't take it apart. There's some things you can learn that way, but not of a living body. And so you look at it when it's working. It's the same is true for system simulation. My work as a professor and looking at McDonald's coming and going and queuing theory for that, to look at ambulance services, to look at planes coming into an airport. You can't shut that stuff down. You have to look at it while it's in motion. And that's what I've applied to using a slot machine. to playing a slot machine, to seeing what works on a slot machine. And it keeps me up to date with what the casinos are currently offering, not 10 years old, based on, well, no need to get into that. But so what I've observed with my scientific ability to watch for changes is resets seem to be stacked. They seem to be, first there's the 15 minutes, then there's longer, and then there's longer, and then there's longer. And they stack, they add up. So you might get something from that 15 minutes, but it wouldn't be the same as 6 hours. You know, coming in on, like in Ohio, there's the church crowd. So if you beat them to the casino on Sunday before they get there at 11:30 and you're there at quarter after 11, then that's for during the week, the whole week. That's when it's less likely anybody's going to be there. Let me take a sip of water. Okay. Every time somebody likes, I'll take a sip of water. Well, every time I tell everybody to please like this video, I'll take a sip of water. How's that sound? Hello, Shirley. How are you? Yeah. Oh, it's terribly humid. It's terribly humid. Doreen says 90 here in Michigan, but it feels like 106. Well, it's dropped from 99 degrees to 95 outside, just as we were talking in the last hour. Phew. Okay. So questions. Kim says, are casinos, are racinos really random, or are they on timers? I saw your video on timers. On timers? And it is hard to believe the machines are random if they are on timers. I don't have a video on timers, although that might be your word. Are you talking about, they're on a schedule. Yeah, they're on a schedule. Planned well in advance, set up to be, to work. Yeah, sure. Yes, there's more to randomness than most people realize. There's things called weighted averages, which is completely random. There's, I'm trying to think of an easy way to do this without getting into calculus. Hi there, Isaac. How you doing? We good? We're good. Okay. He's something. We'll see. Right. Yes, slot machines are random. When people say they are completely random, they are not. Let me see if I can. Oops. Yeah, so I will. Yeah, so this kind of behavior. Let me see if this kind of behavior. Go back to. Let's see. Where's a clear? Yeah, that's random behavior right there. That's random behavior, but it's not what people call fully random, which I don't even know what that is. I'm a scientist, and I'm like, what is that? There's some idea out there that randomness is absolute. And I'm like, what do you, it's, this is random behavior, but it's guided. Kind of like herding cats, but it's guided. And if I were to go to another good example, here, this is, and I'll block you out there. So this is Florida's Miami-Dade and Broward County's casinos. What is that? 8? Yep. And Isle Pompano is along the bottom. This is for 2 years, 3 months. Completely random at the bottom. And then there's Magic City and Hialeah Park, completely random right at the top. And so people need to expand their understanding of randomness. And I, outside of having a statistics course, there's a joke, there's a Facebook meme that I saw and I've been modifying for my own use, which was Everybody hates math until that paycheck looks a little funny. And I modified it to be everybody hates math until that hand pay looks a little funny. Everybody, and maybe I'll make everybody hates math until that randomness looks a little not random. Yeah, I guess the best way to put it for randomness is it's not randomness. It's not black and white, and people want it to be black and white. It's not black and white. It's shades of gray, and not less random or more random. Different types of random. Yeah. Kim, yeah, I got your question. Good. Yeah, Irving, I will, I usually default it to be like 12, 24 hours so that I have time to work on stuff. For you, I will make the 2:00 time for, was it Friday? Or tomorrow? I will make that, give it a shorter amount of time for you because I know your schedule is important too. Yeah, best wishes. Irving was on the podcast, and also he shared some stuff on a prior live stream, which I don't feel it needs to be. I won't share it unless he wants to. I don't need to. And wish them all, everybody. Okay, Lone Wolf question: Hollywood Casino is a franchise. Yes. It's owned by Penn National, right? Hollywood. Yeah, Penn National. Other words, independently owned and with individual amounts of payback depending on casinos. As opposed to what? Oh, so you're kind of hitting on the same question we had before. What kind of control does the corporate office have over what they want to do? That's a very good question. Certainly they stay within legal limits, but the legal limits are pretty flexible. Now MGM did a lot of purchasing. They purchased a lot, Aria, Cosmo. Did that deal go through? And like 7 other casinos on the Las Vegas Strip, and MGM Grand Detroit was just like handing over money to the corporate office, and it was pretty bad there because, but the corporate office has bills to pay. So yeah, there's some connection there, but that wasn't the earlier question. The earlier question was if you found a way to win at one of those other casinos, Boyd Gaming, would you be able to use that same method at another Boyd Gaming property? And these are operators, not owners. And that was a no, because I found that whoever was the first owner, operator, had a big part of what happened forevermore with that casino. But for your question, it's about the corporate, how the corporate ownership. I think you're talking about, which absolutely, they're in control. They decide if they shall sell the whole shebang, whatever. They say give them marching orders. Now, there is some independence because they can't tell. They can't micromanage every casino. The board of directors, a central office. That's what the general manager is for. And maybe he spends half the time at that casino and half the time at the corporate offices. But that's still an individual who's responsible for that casino. Because if you know anything about business, they want to have somebody to blame. And so they put somebody in charge and they tell them what to do. And they can't do it, they replace them. Yeah. So I guess I'm better understanding. Are Hollywood casinos a franchise? No, they're all owned by Penn National. How much freedom they give to each, it would be like having a company with a bunch of factories. We need your stuff, man. We need your stuff. You got a quota, you set guidelines, because whoever is the investor, and this is not a franchise arrangement. I think you understand business better. The franchise is better than perhaps I do. If you've ever had one, I haven't owned a franchise, where franchises. It's like, McDonald's famously, they were trying to make money from hamburgers in the early days, and eventually they realized that they had a lot more control if they owned the land and rejected the lease of the operators of McDonald's restaurant. And McDonald's is the largest landowner in the United States. Shocker. Philadelphia has return statistics, but I haven't gotten to it yet from C. Matiro. You can look it up yourself. You can go to professorslots.com/PA, and you can look for the links are there. And I think I did a brief summary of what's available, but it's not the depth to which I've been going with these return statistics reports. And in fact, if you go to the bottom, and I will, I guess the same question again. Let me share this part with you. So if you go to the bottom of any page, including my homepage, you'll see this as featured on ABC 27 Evening News. This is in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And it's talking about their Penn National nearby casino. And at the very end, they talk about the Philadelphia casinos. And they also did a study. They did a report basically on the return statistics. And why did they do that? Because they asked me. and I helped them do it. And so, you can look it up yourself at any time. I'm just trying to point out that such a thing exists, how you might go about presenting it. I can do it for you, but that's a paid service. Or you can just wait for me to get to the P's in the alphabet. And let me put that away. Jerry, does free play affect return to player in any way? Can it skew the return stats? First off, the answer is to your second question. Can it skew the return stats? No, it's not shown. It's not used. How would you do the data? There was nothing spent. Only won if you won anything. So what is the return on that? So I don't know how the casino handles a win percent for slot machine free play. But it's obviously has to be something. Might even be thrown out for that. It might be tracked separately. And Isaac is licking my hand. We'll go outside soon. I think he noticed the temperature's dropping. But your first question is, does it affect return to player? It isn't even included with it because there is no money spent. If you look at free play that you get, if it's a mail flyer, and read the fine print, find a magnifying glass and read the fine print, and it'll tell you its dollar value, which is like 0.0001, per dollar or something like that. So it might be worth half a penny if you got like $250 worth of free play. So that sort of thing is there is. I think I'm going to back up because you did say return to player, which is a bunch of different things. So I'm going to guess that you mean, would you? Yeah. See, I don't know what you mean, because it's not how I define return to player. You actually have to spend money. And that's divided by how much you won is divided by how much you spent. And if you don't spend anything, that's a zero. And anything divided by zero is what? And so I'm kind of stuck in a loop here. Um, Free play is, I don't want to say it's not recorded, because while nothing was spent, something was won. And what do they do with that number? I don't know. The other point that I'll make is free play is minuscule, minuscule, minuscule. It is so small. You're talking about $20, and the machine is pulling in the casino is pulling in $1.8 billion per month on a medium-sized Indiana casino, and your weekly free slots play of $20. How does that account? If it was accounted for, and I don't know how it would with it all being divided by zero, it wouldn't have a blip in the ocean, wouldn't be a drop in the ocean, because it's always so small. Question, iClaw Machine. I think I've seen you before. I noticed on your last trip to Connecticut, you chose Foxwoods over Mohegan Sun. Was there any special reasoning for this for you personally? That's where we all met. That's where we all decided to meet. I was going to a podcaster a meetup called Gamblepalooza. Do you know You Can Bet on That with Mark and Dr. Mike? They were there. Mark showed me how to play craps, taught me how to play craps. And we had a high limit slot run by Eric Rosenthal. These are all I'm name dropping, and a bunch of the others. My cousin Vito. No, is it my cousin Vito? What else? The other, just there's 8, 9, 10. Better Life. Better Life was there, and a bunch of others, and they're fans. And so, yeah, that's where we were. That's when we met. Lone Wolf says, the guy who programmed slots says a slot could never be fully random because a casino couldn't operate with possible fluke wild swings. Again, this is not a technical kind of discussion. So when you say somebody that programs slots, I guess you would mean a slot mechanic, not someone who programs games. Okay. A slot could never be fully random. Never be. Oh, okay. Yeah. Like there's a way to kind of say what fully random is. I don't think it's generally accepted. It might be kind of what some people are talking about anywhere from 0 to $9 billion when you spend a quarter in a slot machine. And that might be a way to say fully random, but it's so I don't know why I have such a hard time kind of explaining this, because I'm so stumped by some of the people who talk about randomness. First of all, on a slot machine, there's a cap. There's a maximum jackpot on any slot machine, right? So how could it be random if it has a cap? And we're done here. Yeah, wild swings, those are under control. That's randomness has a couple of parameters. It's actually a curve. It has a shape to the curve, and you can it's called a probability distribution. Sorry to bring up calculus. And those equations for the different frequency distributions have parameters, and some of them are the expectation value, and some of them are the variance, and other things that you can understand about the shape of the curve for the distribution over a different amount of wins. And that's how randomness works. I'm sorry for the calculus lecture. Probably just probability distributions, and that's what's really going on. a lot of people who misunderstand, who say fully random, are actually talking about their experiences playing card games and table games, roulette, craps, throwing dice, and they think that's random, and that's a type of random. It's not what you find in an electronic circuit. What you find in an electronic circuit is it's like it's like a particular game of poker has a certain set of odds depending on the game rules. Yes? A electronic circuit that sets up the randomness of some slot machine can change those rules based on its settings. And you could look at a slot machine and you won't know what happened to the board, if it's been changed or not. And so a lot of people coming from table games are applying what they think they know. And honestly, there's this huge, I get so upset about this. There is a one video that caused all of this. It's got 10,000 views last I checked. It's from 2009 before any, and it's being reposted. The son of the original person who provided it in 2009 is trying to make money and just, it's tanking the company. But he's got a long ways to fall from his dad who's semi-retired. Anyway, that video was from a table game expert who felt, well, I got to do a slots video at some point. And so he did. And he talked about it from the point of view of this is how I understand randomness to work. And so I'm just going to apply it to slot machines. And then it was watched by 10 million people. And everybody who ever mentions fully random and other things have watched that at some point, or the people they talk to who taught them what they know, watched that at some point, and it's had this terrible impact. It's awful. I mean, it's the repercussions of that for the last 2009, so 13 years. Whew, man. How are machines set to be within the required return to player? Okay, so it's a setting on the machine. There is in what's the numbers that I had? 13. I think there's 19 states that have a minimum, and 13 of those. Some states don't have. You say, okay, you said within the required return to player. It's like when you have a can that has ability to open it from one end and the other end. In most states, there's no closed side. It can't be this or smaller, but it could be anywhere over there, including over 100%. So how are machines set to be within the required return to player? The 10 plus years ago, it was when the technology came out. It took a couple of years. 2012 took a couple of years for all the casinos to kind of get it as fast as they possibly could. But a lot of what you hear on the internet, is from people talking about what they know before they were laid off because they got rid of a lot of slot mechanics, on how things were done back then. And back then it was a setting on the machine. Now these days it's still a machine and it's still a setting, but they found ways to do it, which is a lot less people involved, a lot less personnel, a lot less cost to do it, and it's automated. Yeah, I saw a slot so-called slot mechanic talk about that, and he said, yeah, absolutely, you can set it any day you want to, anytime you want to, after big events. Then he gave his opinion that it wasn't something the casino would do, but I'm like, how would you know that? I mean, we've talked about talking to casino employees and listening to their facts and taking their facts. But when they start sharing their opinion, take it with a grain of salt. Yeah. And Teresa Vapor, you gave your name. Thank you so much for the $20 and $18.99 donation. It's very much appreciated. Thank you. So Jerry, American Casino Guide is a table game expert. Wizard of Odds, he sold his business. He actually knows this, what I'm telling you. And he put out a video. What year was that? He put out a video explaining all this, and then he took it back. A couple of years later, he didn't say it. I guess he got beat up about it. You know, he lived in Las Vegas. His business is dependent on casinos, like a lot of people's are, and keeping good relationships with them. And he took it back. Not because he was wrong, for some other reason. Yeah. Yeah, it would be interesting for, you know, you say they stand by this randomness in slots, and there is no such version of randomness in existence. So I'm like, you don't have to listen to me. You could take a stats course if you wanted to. It would have to be a graduate level. I mean, calculus, and I don't know if you can do that, but yeah, it's not me saying this. It's and you know, so many people. When you think about it, you know, I think about this a lot. I think about why do people say this, and it's easier. The people that have slots channels, they're dependent on the casinos. They go there to record their play. Can't be turned away, otherwise their business is off. And I'm not like that. And I'm what was it you or somebody else? I'm independent. And yeah, maybe the casinos aren't paying these other people, but it's who they, you know, need. You know, they is it a smart decision for them to go against what the casino wants them to say, even if it's just implied? Also, you know, I'm a small channel. I'm growing leaps and bounds. You know, it's been a year. It's been wonderful and all that. But I look at some of my views and I'm like, well, I could just lie to people and tell them what they want to hear, and I would do so much better. Not that everybody's lying. I don't mean to say that everybody's lying. Some of them aren't, but if you can shade the truth, if you can hide, you know, what's really going on, even if you really believe it, you know, go for it. But yeah, there is a resistance to having any conversation like this. And I think that most of it has to do with, I got to sell some slot machines to the casinos. I've got to sell, you know, my market. People will get upset at me if I, you know, do a slot channel where, you know, it's also takes a little bit of intellect. Not that these are stupid people. I don't know what their level of education is, and that can be helpful. But this is all really obvious. I mean, but then I have a bunch of college degrees and a bunch of statistics courses, and it's what are they thinking? It doesn't exist, but they are popular and they get views, and so they do. No, I haven't been. You're welcome. D Dunn says, any good reviews for Atlantic City, Borgata, and Hard Rock in particular. So let's just go on a little foray here. If you go to my website, this is the homepage. There's something called reviews right here. Can you see that? I don't know if you're on a desktop or most people are on a mobile phone. So I'm going to scroll through these. I think it's on like the third page. I'll just jump to there and see if I can remember correctly. Foxwoods. Yep, these are a bunch of gambling. This is that's where's Mark? Mark. That's Better Life. That's Mark. I think that's Dr. Mike. This is the guy that screamed at me. Anyway, that's cousin Vito right there. And that person, we had a conversation about quantum physics in the casino. And she was like, I can't believe we're having a conversation about quantum physics in the casino. And I'm like, I do all the time. New Jersey. Okay. So you can go to New Jersey slots return to player on my website, and we can go to there's a graph here like what you just saw, and I'll try to make it a little bit bigger for you. Right there. So this is from the beginning of 2019 until about a year ago, which is this is going to get updated in a few more weeks. And so green is Harris, and I think this one down here is Ocean. So you can actually go to this page or go to professorslots.com/NJ for New Jersey, and it'll show you where you can go to the website and download this information and see how it's been going for the last year. I'll update it I'll update it to the most recently available return statistics in a couple. What is it? 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks away or something like that. I have to check my schedule. And everything else is kind of in the middle of the pack, but you do want to check to see where things are at because, Borgata is up here. Traditionally, it was locked in with Harris being, first and second best, but maybe it came back, but it was dipping down a little bit. Borgata was dipping down a little bit. And that's what return statistics. No opinion necessary. This is database decision making. Start from there and build from the stand on top of the hill before you leap. Hard Rock is in the middle of the pack. That blue line. Okay. Lone Wolf. Question on the slot. When we do it, sometimes is displayed, but if a tech puts their card in, something different. If a machine displays bonus disabled. That could be so many different things. I mean, if they put their card in and you're at the top level, you're not digging into the hierarchy, you're not digging down in the menus looking for that. If it's like shown, that could mean anything. Is it a progressive machine? Is it not a progressive machine? I would have loved to stood there and gone through half a stomach of pasta, just churning through my brain going, think. I don't know. The software they used on slot machines is not standard. So you might want to see if a slot mechanic knows of what that means. You didn't give me, I don't have enough information to be able to analyze what that would mean. I don't like the word disabled. I don't. I agree with you on that. But it could mean just about anything. Yeah. Okay, so anybody else have any other questions? I'm going to take a sip of water and see how my dog is doing and what the weather outside is like. And wow, dropped to 6 degrees already. Any other questions? Okay, thank you so much. Okay, that's it. What a great live stream. I appreciate it. You'll see me in my next live stream on Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern. In the meantime, watch this video on how to use my location strategy, now renamed Repeat Wins 3x, 4x, to win at your casino. Bye.